All right, well, welcome everybody to the second Team Captain Workshop. We are 18 days away from the walk? 19 days away from the walk, so I know we've been getting a lot of questions about how to handle donations and how to input pledges on the walk website, so we wanted to kind of do a little webinar to go over those details and help people with any questions they may have. Because I know that the walk website can get a little tricky sometimes, so we want to provide you with all the tools that we can to make it as simple and easy as possible. So tonight we are going to, if I can go to the next slide, this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what the different types of donations are. We're going to go over how to add pledges and how to turn in checks and cash. So we're actually going to go onto the walk website itself, and I'll take you through the steps of how to do that. I'm going to tell you a little bit about bank night and what you can expect there, as well as what you can expect at registration on the day of the walk, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what happens after the walk and the recognition program. So to get started, I just want to kind of create a baseline understanding of some of the terminology that I'm going to be using. Basically, the big two ideas being offline versus online transactions. Offline transactions would be anything you would receive physically, like cash or checks, whereas online transactions, as the name says, is all online, and that's usually done by a credit or a debit card. So this webinar is definitely going to be focusing a lot more on offline transactions, because with online transactions, when somebody completes one of those, it's done and over with as they complete it. There's no additional steps that need to be done, whereas with offline transactions, turning in checks and cash and things like that, there's extra steps with that. So that's definitely what we're going to focus on a little bit more. Regardless, whether if it's a offline or online transaction, I do want to point out that everything will go through the walk website in one form or another. That's how we keep an accurate count of how much has been raised so far, how we reflect what each individual's personal fundraising total has been, as well as team totals for fundraising. So between what's already been entered on the system and what we will enter over the course of the next 6 or 7 weeks, everything that we receive donation-wise will go through the walk website. Another thing that I wanted to touch on was the donations to a team versus donations to a participant, because I know there's been a lot of questions about that as well. When you're in the walk website and looking through your total, that can sometimes get a little bit confusing, because it's important to understand that the individuals, the walkers, the participants, all make up the teams, and each of their individual fundraising totals contribute to the team's totals. So if somebody makes a donation to Sally Susan, $50 towards her participant page, that's going to be added to the total for her page and the team page as well. Whereas if somebody just makes a donation directly to a team, that's not going to reflect towards a individual's fundraising totals. So that's sometimes where people can see a couple different numbers on the walk website. So it's important to understand when you are sharing links to the walk website for people to do online transactions, you want to be cognizant of whether or not you're sharing your team fundraising page or your individual fundraising page. And if there is a transaction that is in the wrong spot that you believe should be put somewhere else, the best solution is pretty much just to reach out to me, and I can figure out the details with you, and we can get that moved over in its appropriate place. So just understanding that there is a distinction between donations towards a team and donations towards a participant. So let's actually look at what would happen if you were to receive cash or checks outside of the walk website, and how you can add those to your walker page and get them reflected towards your total. So we're actually going to take a look at the actual website. Right now, we are logged into my account, so this is definitely the first step that you're going to have to do. to be able to input this stuff. The way you can tell that you're logged in is if you have this black bar at the top of the page. And I should just clarify, can everybody see my screen right now of the walk website? Feel free to unmute and give me a yes just so I can be sure.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So this top toolbar is going to be your resource center of how you can input things on the back end and get your donations added to your fundraising total. One thing I will point out, anybody who is designated as a team captain, you have access to this team page icon. That's not typically on there for walkers who are on your team. Only the team captains have the overview of the team page. But in what we're looking at here, the big section that you're going to want is the add offline donation under the donations section. So when you get that check or cash, if you go into here, you can see that you can input the amount. So if I got a $50 check from Sally, I put $50 in here, select check, and put in the check number for that. I'm just going to put a fake one for now. The only required field for the donor's information is the name, but if you can provide the email address or the address, that's helpful on our end, especially if your donors ever want a receipt of some kind. It helps to have that information on file so we can easily get that to them. So we put Sally's name in here, and Johnson will be her last name. Fill in this information if you can, and then you'll simply add the donation. So as you'll see, you'll get this green bar at the bottom saying your cash/check donation was added. So if you went back to your page at this point, you would see Sally's donation under your donations as well. And there she is. Same process for cash. Rather than, it won't have you input a check number since it's obviously not a check. But any cash or check can be put in here, and any dollar amount that you receive. And these are the items that you will need to essentially turn into NAMI at a later date so we can verify that we actually did receive that donation. The reason we have you do this and put things into your personal page as a pledge initially is that so we can get an accurate count of where we stand right now in terms of fundraising, so that your personal page is correct, your team page is correct, and the event as a whole is correct as well. Now, one thing that's also really helpful is for those of you who are team captains, there's a good chance that you've probably registered somebody else on the walk website just to help them out. You can actually access their accounts as well and help add pledges onto their site. And the way you would do that is if you go up to this toolbar up at the top where your name is, you would go down to switch account, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see the access that you have to any team members that you have registered yourself. For instance, if Emily didn't have access to a computer and I, as team captain, know that she's going to participate in the walk and is on my team, I was able to add her information in as a walker on my team. Whereas if there's an individual who registered themselves onto the walk, you may not necessarily have access to their page to help them manage it. So that's kind of where you won't necessarily see your entire team under switching the accounts to them. You only have access to those who you yourself helped register. But that allows you to go under their account, and you can then add an offline donation for them as well. You can also then edit their contact info and see which donations they've received as well. An important thing to remember, though, when you do this is to make sure that you switch back into your personal account so when you're not getting things mixed up when you try to log on to the walk website another time. So the process of adding donations on the walk website is fairly straightforward. But as always, if you ever run into an issue or anything, you can reach out to me and I can help you. I can walk you through the steps of getting your pledges added to the website. And then once we receive the actual check and cash from you, we will go in on the back end and approve those pledges to show that transaction as fully completed. Wrong item. So to kind of go back to things, there are basically 3 ways that you can turn in your donations to help verify your pledges. The first one being bank night. Second option is to come to the NAMI Iowa office. And the third option is to go to the actual registration table on walk day. So I'm going to give you some details on each of these so you can plan accordingly as to what route you want to go to turn in your donations and pledges. The first one, which is the one I would recommend the most, is our bank night. So this is a great way that you can beat the line at the actual walk, and it's a way that you can turn in your checks and cash early and actually get your T-shirt in advance so you can wear it the day of the walk. And so we've set up a bank night at Smoky Row Coffee Shop, just off of MLK Parkway, south of 235, and we'll be there on September 25th from 8 to 5 p.m. We are going to be in the community room, so if you're familiar with the building at all, it's kind of towards the back at the opposite corner of where you order coffee. So if you head back towards the restrooms, we'll have signage there so you know that we're using that room for the walk collection. So please mark your calendar for that. It's a much simpler and calmer way to get your donations in. So we would love to have as many team captains show up to that to our bank night. And your participants or your walkers can come as well. It's not a team captain only. It's not only team captains that can come. Second option, if you can't make it to bank night, but you still want to get your T-shirt early, we are here at the NAMI Iowa office Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. So you can stop by. We're right across from Laurel Hay Mall. I always say we're in the same building as Jimmy John's, just on the second floor. So you can stop by during any of our regular business hours, and we can help you get your pledges taken care of, and we can get your T-shirt if you qualify. And then the last option for turning in your pledges is to do it on the actual day of the walk. There's going to be a lot going on that day, so I just want to kind of give you some information ahead of time of what to expect and some different tips and tricks to make that morning as easy as possible for everybody. We will have a lot of people at the registration, so please plan accordingly. It would be great to have everybody's donations taken care of before the actual walk begins at 10 a.m. So if you know you have a lot of donations to turn in that morning, you may want to get there earlier. Registration will be opening up at 8:30 a.m., so there will be a full hour and a half that you can get your items submitted. And we are going to have 6 lines in total, split up by last name, so that should help the process run a lot smoother. And everything at registration is a one-stop shop. You can turn in your donations there, you can pick up your T-shirts, you can register new walkers. Everything that you may need to do the morning of the walk, you can get it done at the registration table. So we will also have donation envelopes available outside of the line so you can fill those out and get organized before actually getting in the line. That will really help us overall with streamlining the registration process, and we can help more people in a quicker manner. So a lot of team captains will actually organize all their donations for their team, so they're the only ones who go through the registration line, and they don't have to send every single walker through the line. So that's definitely a strategy that you can choose to execute and take on, but that's really a case-by-case basis of what's best for your team and what's realistic for you. One thing I will add, if there is an individual that's joining your team that has never registered for the walk itself, they will need to go through the registration line themselves because there is a form that they'll need to fill out in addition to the waiver for the walk that we'll need them to sign. Everybody who registered online in advance, they've already signed the waiver and they're good to go, so we don't need to, if they are good to go on their donations and their T-shirt and they've checked all the boxes, they don't necessarily have to go through the registration line. I would like to point out, these are what you're seeing on your screen right now, these are the Walker collection envelopes. We'll have these available at bank night. There will be a table of them outside the registration line on the day of the walk. This is basically how we're going to collect all the information on the donations that you're turning in and make sure that they get attributed to the correct participant, attributed to the correct team, and so we have all the information that we need to get it inputted correctly. So one thing I would definitely want to point out is that we are asking that you do one walker per envelope. So if you as a team captain were taking care of donations for 5 different members of your team, you're going to want to split them up into 5 different envelopes with each walker's name personalized in the information section here. Then you would input your team name, team captain name here, and then have the walker sign. That's going to be the easiest way, I think, for all of our participants, all of our team captains, and those of us who input the information afterwards to just have one envelope per walker. That would really help us out. So we have these envelopes available if you would like some advance to take care of it ahead of time. Feel free to reach out to me and we can send you some of those envelopes. But again, we'll have them at a table the morning of the walk. So they will be there ready for you to grab and fill out. I do want to point one thing out in addition to this as well. We are having a few contests this year, so get excited. We are doing some prizes for the the individual who raises the most money and the team that raises the most money. We are also doing 2 other contests, one about the best T-shirt design and another for the team with the most walkers present. I want to touch on the top individual and top team fundraiser contest, just because I wanted to make sure it was clear that while we are still accepting donations the day of the walk, we will be looking at the results for these contests the day before, and we'll be looking at that at noon. So if you have a member of your team or your team overall is really close to kind of being in that top spot, please know that we are going to be basing that off of the totals at noon the day before the walk so that we compare our prizes accordingly and make sure that we have the right team being recognized. So, on another note, T-shirts. These are definitely a big commodity for people. Everybody loves getting their T-shirt at the $100 level. I just want to make sure that everyone understood that it is on a basis of an individual walker. They have to raise $100 individually in order to get the T-shirt. So that's where it's important, where you're looking at your participant fundraising total on the walk. If it's not showing at 100, then you won't get the T-shirt. So that's why we want to make sure that everyone is paying attention to making sure that their donations are attributed to the correct spot. On Friday, the day before the walk at noon, we're going to be pulling a report of how many people have qualified for the T-shirt and in what size, and we will be setting those T-shirts aside to make sure that they can receive them the day of the walk. For instance, if somebody brings a check the day of, they've never registered, and they qualify for the T-shirt, we will give them a T-shirt if we have extras left. So, for instance, if we had 10 medium T-shirts and we know 8 of them are claimed by people who had the $100 raised by Friday at noon, we were going to set 8 of those T-shirts aside, and then as people qualify the day of, we will pull from the remaining 2 while quantities last. If we run out of a certain quantity or of a certain size, we will take down that person's information. We will do what we can to get them a T-shirt if we have leftovers after the day of the walk, or if we are able to order more. So, again, just the big point is it's on an individual basis, not a team basis, to if you qualify for the T-shirt or not. So, in looking at after the walk, the fundraising website stays open for 30 more days after the walk, so you can still keep going, trying to hit your goal, trying to win those prizes in the recognition program. So it does not end at the actual walk. But I will add that any donations or pledges that are out there need to be resolved by October 29th. That's our final day with the website. So if you've inputted a check and we haven't received it, expect that we'll probably be giving you a couple phone calls throughout the month of October trying to figure that out and get it taken care of. So again, you got the bank night, you have our office hours, and the day of the walk as well to turn in any checks or cash. So please, please, please take advantage of that. And then I just want to kind of retouch on the recognition program. I know I just talked about the T-shirt there for a bit, but there are other great prizes as well at different levels, all the way going up to $2,000. I know I mentioned on the last Team Captain workshop about the micro fleece jacket. I highly recommend it. It is super comfy. So we have different prizes. At the $250 level, I should point out that you get the choice of either the baseball cap or the stainless steel tumbler. So you can pick between the 2 of those. If you qualify for one of these prizes, you will get a link emailed to you 30 days after the walk, so also when the walk site closes, giving you the option to redeem your prize. And the way that the recognition program works is it's based on what you qualify for. It's the T-shirt plus one other prize. So let's say, for instance, I raised $700. I would get both the T-shirt and the long sleeve wicking tee. Now there is an option if you qualify for an upper prize and you like one of the lower prizes better, you can select that. So if I was raised $700 and I really wanted that baseball cap, I could choose that over the wicking tee. But you can only make that swap once. So like I said, it's the T-shirt plus one other prize if you qualify. Well, that kind of wraps up the basic overview of how to add pledges and how to turn in donations at the walk, as well as information on our bank night. So I hope that you can all mark down the details for the bank night and encourage your walkers to join us and help get those donations turned in. This walk is not possible without those great efforts from all of our team captains and all of our walkers. So on behalf of NAMI, I want to thank you all for being a part of our walk and for helping us to raise important funds to continue to offer our great signature programs throughout communities across Iowa. And we couldn't do it without you. So I'll open the floor to any questions. All right, well, if you have any questions that you think of later, especially for those of you who are watching the recording later on, feel free to reach out to me, Zach, later on. If you do have questions, either email me at zach@namiiowa.org, that's Z-A-C-H, @namiiowa.org, or feel free to call the office at 515-254-0417. If you have any issues or questions, feel free to reach out, but thank you all for joining us for this workshop tonight.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Have a good night.
You too.